Hey everybody, it's Nate and Steph from Explorer Style Live. Today we are going to show you how to build a DIY headliner shelf for a Sprinter camper van. The first thing that we did was we spread out the Vancillary headliner shelf template and used our scissors to trim around the outside edge of the template. We stayed about a ½ inch to the outside of the line with our cut. Using clear packing tape, we taped the headliner shelf template to a sheet of 2 foot by 5 foot ½ inch sandy plywood. Now, hindsight being 2020, we probably should have aligned the flat side of this template with one of the long flat sides of the plywood so we didn't have to cut the wood on that side. We used our jigsaw to cut along the outside edge of the headliner shelf template. Now in the next steps we're going to show you how we installed the Vancillary headliner shelf brackets and hardware. There are 4 Torx bolts in our headliner that we needed to remove, and they're located here. The front 2 are T30 Torx bolts. We used a 3/8 inch ratchet and 6-inch extension with a T30 bit to remove these. Once we removed these bolts, we slid the short Vancillary mounting brackets between the headliner and the grab handle and we aligned the holes. We then reinstalled the T30 Torx bolt, but didn't tighten it all the way yet as the brackets needed to move just a little bit to install the shelf. Then we repeated this process on the other side. The 2 rear Torx bolts were hidden under the coat hooks on the B-pillar behind the seat. We simply pried off those with a flathead screwdriver. Under the coat hook, we removed a T27 Torx bolt. We used a T27 Torx bit mounted on a 1/4 inch ratchet with a 6-inch extension. Next, we slid the tall Vancillary mounting brackets behind the B-pillar trim piece. We then reinstalled the T27 Torx bolt, but we didn't tighten it all the way yet as the brackets needed to be able to pivot out of the way to install the shelf. Next, we grabbed our headliner shelf and test fit it onto the brackets just to make sure it fits. If it didn't, we would have cut to make the necessary adjustments, but it fit great the first time around, so that wasn't necessary. We then aligned the shelf and made sure it was sitting flush against the top of the brackets. We used a pin to mark where the Vancillary bracket mounting holes are located. Back in the shop, we used our 7/32 inch drill bit to drill holes at each of our 8 marks. A block of scrap wood underneath the holes makes for a cleaner drill hole with less tear out on the back side. The 5 foot by 2 inch strip of ½ inch sandy plywood will be the front ledge of the headliner. We cut the length of this strip to match the flat side of the headliner where the ledge will sit. Then we laid a bead of Titebond 2 wood glue on the flat edge of our headliner shelf and spread it out with our silicone wood glue brush. We aligned the front ledge strip on the flat side of the headliner shelf and used wood clamps to fasten it in place. The glue sets up within an hour, but the joint shouldn't be stressed for about 24 hours, so we just let this one cure overnight. This video is hardly a lesson in upholstery, so this description here is going to be pretty brief and then we'll time lapse over what we did. We stretched and attached the fabric to the shelf with 3M spray adhesive, then we wrapped the edges using plenty of relief cuts. When we trimmed the edges, we used a lighter to tighten up the frayed ends. But here's the time lapse. Once the headliner shelf was wrapped in fabric, we poked holes with an awl where we drilled our mounting bolt holes to puncture the fabric so we could install the machine screws to fasten it to the brackets. Finally, it was time to install the shelf. We placed the headliner shelf on top of the Vancillary mounting brackets and installed the supplied machine screws through each one of the 8 holes we drilled in the headliner shelf. The machine screws install from the bottom up, and they need a washer on both sides of the shelf with a nut on top. We used a 3/8 inch wrench and a drill with a Phillips bit to tighten these bolts. Using our T27 and T30 bits, ratchets, and extensions from earlier, we tightened the bolts that hold the Vancillary mounting brackets to the wall. And that's all there is to this particular project. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you want to be notified when we have more projects like this one, be sure to subscribe and we'll notify you. Until next time, we'll see you later.
That looks damn good.
It's pretty sturdy too. I was worried about it not being very sturdy, but
It's pretty sturdy.
like I was, yeah, I mean, ½ inch versus 3/4 inch plywood. I think I'm good with that. It matches pretty well too.
I did a damn good job on the upholstery.
That upholstery looks great.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. Let's put stuff up there.